So, this weather is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like winter hadn't even started. It is not like I hate it. If I could move to California or Florida, I would be happy.
Yes.
Do you?
Or at least go down there during the winter months.
Yeah, like January and February. You know, I don't really mind as much being cold as I do wet and cold. That's what I don't like.
We are the same then. I don't like that either.
So, Dr. Johnson, tell us about Bradley Cleveland Services.
Bradley Cleveland.
Or is it Cleveland Bradley Services?
Bradley Cleveland
Bradley
Community
Cleveland.
Services.
Community
Yes.
Services. Now, y'all are in charge of the senior center
Yes.
and the emergency shelter.
Emergency shelter. And what else? Demetrius.
Demetrius is in charge now, right?
Yes, he's the head man.
The head honcho.
Yes. And he just lets me tag along.
What I've always amazed at is how much y'all do down there. It's an unknown secret of Cleveland of how much y'all do. And I know that from experience because I've worked with y'all on several occasions, and it's amazing. It's like you can tell, I can tell when a place is busy, and when you go in there, y'all are busy. And it's amazing how many different things you have. So there's the emergency shelter, senior center, and then the Thursday thing. What's that? That's where you have all the groceries.
So you're talking about commodities?
Commodities, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? Every Thursday?
No. So it's every other month.
Uh-huh.
We do a USDA surplus foods distribution to low-income households all across the county. Now, every Thursday we do a food bank at the senior center, or every other Thursday. And then every Friday we distribute meals to frail elderly individuals through a program called Home Delivered Meals. So I think you're asking about home delivered meals.
Well, how many facets are there? I mean,
so we've got let's back up. So we've got Bradley Cleveland Community Services Agency.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Cleveland Emergency Shelter, which is a nonprofit.
On Wildwood.
Mm-hmm. We've got Cleveland Bradley Housing Corporation, which is a CHODO, community housing development organization that we manage, and then Bradley County Committee on Aging. So all of those three fall up under the management of Bradley Cleveland Community Services Agency, and all of those organizations work together to serve the low income of our county or the vulnerable populations of our county.
Well, that's a lot. How do you keep up with it?
It's a challenge.
You have to sort of be a little hyper.
Yeah, but he's hyper, but you're not. But he's hyper because he's having to deal with it all.
He's hyper because he knows what's on schedule next.
Now, how long have you been doing Bradley Cleveland Community Services? How long have you been in charge
Since
of that?
1976.
1976. So I was 3.
As was I.
Really? Don't tell me I'm the old one here.
No, I was a little older than that, but not much.
No, I was 3.
So who put you, was that the first time that somebody was in charge of that?
No, there was a forerunner of our agency that was started by people from Lee University. Lucille Walker was the initial director, and they came together in 1964 when the war on poverty was first instituted.
Who declared the war on poverty?
Lyndon Johnson.
So he was in charge. He said, okay, we're going to have a war on poverty. And they started these community services.
Started, yes, community action.
And then, so the forerunner, who'd you say?
Lee University was involved in 1964 when Lyndon Baines Johnson and Ladybird went through Appalachia, and they saw the extreme poverty there. And they decided we got to do something about this. They started the War on Poverty. And we've been fighting it ever since.
So how did you get to be the guy?
I was not the initial guy. The initial was B.W. Williams that managed the health department. He was the second person. Bruce Graham from Kentucky was the first director for our agency. The university had Cleveland Bradley Community Services. And Jack Smith, do you remember Jack Smith? Mm-hmm. Was the, I've never said all this to you. Jack Smith was the initial director. He was director for about 10 or 15 years.
And then how did you get involved? What were you doing at that time? Because I want to go way back. You were neighbors with Gene Officer?
Yes. Gene Officer was right on the corner from me, around the corner from me.
He lived on which road?
Central Avenue.
He lived on Central. You lived on
Central and Dooley.
Uh-huh.
I lived on Galt Street.
Now, and Larry Presswood lived over on Inman?
Lived over across Inman Street on Dooley Street, I think. In that brick house across from the health department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Raymond Woods. Did you know Raymond?
I did not know Raymond, no.
So are you Gene's age, Gene Officer?
Just about. I think Gene is older than I am. Just in case he's listening.
Yeah. Did you know him then?
Mm-hmm. We all used to join together and play and do different things together.
So now, did you do your homework? How did you know all this?
Well, I knew Gene has mentioned. I've talked to Gene about you, and he knows you. He always liked you. But that was years ago. He told me
his family was a fine family. His dad was a preacher, wasn't he?
He was a preacher, yeah.
Yes, Church of God preacher.
Yeah. But let's see now. Who else was it? There's somebody else that lived over there, and I can't remember who it was. I can't remember. But so, did you go to college to be this director, or what would you?
I went to college to be.
What was your title before Demetrius took over?
Executive director.
Executive director of Bradley Cleveland's Community Services.
Yes.
And so, did you go to college?
I went to college to be an operatic singer. That was my desire.
What?
And
that's unusual, isn't it?
You know how things get mixed up.
Yeah.
Somebody got me mixed up. The Lord got me mixed up, I guess, with what I really was supposed to be, and then I was called to be a preacher.
So where did you go to school to be an operatic singer?
I went to Tennessee State University. Went to Indiana University.
For 4 years, or was it 2 years?
2 summers, Indiana. We went to the World's Fair. We took the Indiana opera course to the World's Fair. We sang at the World's Fair. We were going to. The night that we were supposed to sing, it poured like something crazy. This is outdoors, open air. And so we just had to lay low between the showers.
Why opera? I mean, that's a little odd, isn't it?
I just loved opera from a child out.
Did a family member listen to opera?
No.
Can you sing opera today?
Now that is hilarious. That is so funny. If you hear him sing, you will hear the influence there.
Well, I've seen him on the. See, I was going to get into that because he preaches too. I do not understand how y'all do everything you do. It's absolutely astonishing. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that out of all all respect, because I'm just trying to get to how you got to where you are, how you do it, and how you keep your sanity. Because
Well, I sleep some. He doesn't. He goes around the clock.
now y'all are always ribbing each other too, right?
Always.
Because if y'all are on good behavior right now, you're usually jabbing
Well,
each
wait
other.
before the camera.
Are y'all related?
No.
No relation? I thought he was your nephew or something.
He's my son. By adoption. Not
But
by
no blood relatives.
No blood runs.
So were your parents? Who are they?
My mother was a beautician. She was one of the first African American beauticians in Bradley County. My father was a shoe shine boy uptown in White's shoe shop. Do you remember White's? Okay.
Nope.
And I went there and learned to shine shoes pretty good.
Did you have the box? They carry the box.
No, we had a stand in there. And no, we didn't go down the street. We were in the shop.
What did they have on the stand? Like
They had
different colors? Different, like brown, black?
Yeah, we had different polishes that we used.
Were all the shoes then pretty well the same color? Or were they, I'd put the wrong color on it if it was me. Or was they all black or brown?
You wouldn't do that but one time.
Oh.
Because the owner would really come back and really jump you because these people were very particular with their shoes.
Today, people could care less about their shoes.
They just buy shoes that match their
I got this sponge thing. If I'm wearing dress shoes, I hit it one time and it doesn't have any color. It just puts the gloss on. I don't know if it takes the dirt off or if it just hides it.
I think it does both.
But it does the trick, I guess, for a few days. So people then were very particular about their shoes.
Yes. Certain people wanted their shoes shined and they brought them to the barber, to the shoe shop to get them fixed up. They would leave a pile of shoes with my father and he would fix them up.
And then pay him to shine the shoes.
Yeah.
How much was a shoe shine?
I think when I got there and started shining, it was about $2 a pair.
And
They didn't start out at $2 a pair, of course.
how long would a shoe shine last for a shoe?
Well, it depends on how much mud you ran into.
But how long would it last before they brought that shoe back?
Usually a couple of weeks, or it depends on if the person was around a lot of dust and dirt like that, it wouldn't last.
Because the roads weren't paved then, I guess, right? Or were they?
Well, most of uptown roads were, A lot of the roads in the county were not. But the people that we dealt with, most of their shoes were just dusty or something. They weren't muddy.
Just dust.
We didn't fool with the mud.
Yeah. Now, if you were a regular worker, a railroad worker or something, you wouldn't shine your shoes, right? Or would you?
Well, now some of those people wear pretty good suits. Not the people that's hopping the train, but the
regular
captains and workers. Yes.
So even if you were on the lower level of professionalism, you still shined your shoes fairly regular?
They wanted their shoes to look good, especially if they were wearing a suit. And there are a lot of people who went to the country club that wore suits and wanted their shoes to look good.
I know on Gomer Pyle, he polished his shoes, but Sergeant Carter got on to him because he didn't polish the back. And he said, why? And he said, because that's the last thing people see as you're leaving.
That's good.
It is.
So then after college, how did did you say, hey, I just can't, I'm not an opera singer, I don't have it, or did you?
No, they decided that. I didn't decide it. I was faithful to the call. But
So you did audition?
When you go to UT or Indiana, you always do an audition.
Okay.
And that's the way they weed you out. And
So was you weeded out?
no, I was able to sing a bit and play the piano. So they had some excellent pianists at IU, and I went to piano and started piano. Still play a little bit.
So did you say this is not for me?
No, I didn't say that wasn't for me because I thought it was. I just eventually decided that I saw this woman, got married to her, and had to feed the children. So I had to get something that was going to produce
So
income.
So it wasn't financially feasible to stay.
No.
Chasing the dream.
Right. Chasing the dream.
So then you got married. Where'd you meet her?
Do you remember Ollie Bonds?
I knew Ollie. I knew
County
Ollie
Commissioner.
Bond. Yeah.
I was at my house one day, and Ollie Bonds called me. We were pretty close.
Bond or Bonds?
Bond, B-O-N-D.
Yeah.
He married the Donahue.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me and said, there's some girls up here. So I jumped in my car and I went to his house. There were two girls from Chattanooga. One became a principal of the school down there. But this one that really caught me, she opened her mouth and spoke, and her voice was so soft and tender. And I knew.
What were they doing here? Just
No,
visiting?
they just came up to visit Ollie Bond.
Oh, they knew him.
They knew Dr. Bond in Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
They were related to him.
Oh.
Yes. And one of the young ladies lived in one of his houses, a rental house.
So since nobody was going to pay you to sing, and you found somebody you was going to marry, you had to get a job.
I thought it would be feasible.
So then, when you went, then did you get to? How did you get into Bradley Cleveland Community Services?
I went to University of Tennessee, and I worked on a master's there in music. Then when I left there, I came back to Cleveland, taught school, 1 year at Stewart School.
What year?
70 something. Oh, I don't recall the year. I went there, CSA went in,
76.
so it was about 74, 3 or 4, that I taught at Stewart. Music.
You were the music teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
then,
then,
Went to Athens.
thank you, I did go to Athens and taught school for
after
at
Stewart,
North City School.
after Stewart.
Yes. I think it was before Stewart. I taught at North City School in Athens for 5 years at Cook's High School, the African American school there for 2 years, and then I went to North City School for 3 years. And then I left there and went to the University of Tennessee, and then from there I came to Cleveland. I may untangle some things here, but I think that's the way it happened.
So how did you get to Bradley Cleveland Service?
I got to Bradley Cleveland Community Services. Ollie Bond was county commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
And we had always been interested in serving the people in the community.
Who's we?
Well, a few others. Who are some of the other people that were on our board?
Avery Johnson. That's who I was trying to think of.
He wasn't there initially.
Okay.
Who else was on our board, Demetrius? You remember all the people on our board?
Jackie Calloway.
Jackie Calloway's been there since we were organized, yes. She's been a faithful member.
Still there.
Yes,
Still there.
Absolutely.
Was Bradley
Max Carroll.
Max, yeah.
You remember
I remember
Max?
that, yeah. And Gary Davis is on it now, right?
Gary Davis is there
And
now.
somebody else. Who else is? Is that it?
Who's the candidate?
You talking about?
On the Bradley Cleveland.
Oh, we have several. So we have Vice Mayor Avery Johnson.
Avery, that's what I was saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have Mayor Gary Davis. We have Charleston Mayor Donna McDermott. We have, so we said Jackie Calloway, and then 14 other members of the administrating board, and they come from public, private sector, and then representatives of the low income of our county. So we got a lot of board members.
Do they meet once a month or?
No, so we meet once per quarter, which has proven difficult in these trying, uncertain times with COVID.
Yeah.
And so, but normally once per quarter.
So you have to get this ready for the meeting, I guess. That's another thing you've got to do.
Oh yeah.
God. Was this Bradley Cleveland Community Services as broad as it then as it is now, or did it evolve?
When it was initially organized, it was 10 counties. We were together with the counties across the river. Dayton, yes, and all those counties.
Did they all meet here?
They all met here. Yes, the headquarters was in the old Sugar Home place. Off of Dooley. And soon across from the health department, that brick house.
Oh, yeah.
That's where that office was initially.
It's a daycare center now.
It's a daycare center, that's correct. So it initially met there. Then we had a sub place over at, what was that place? Not Walker Street. We did have one at Walker Street. And then we had one over off of what's the name of that street where we used to be over? And we didn't used to be there, but it's across from.
Tell me what you're talking about.
It's
satellite office?
Yes, and it was at what was it?
Are we talking about Progress for People back then,
yes,
or are we still Progress for People, or are we Bradley Cleveland?
Now, where did Progress for People come? Was that what it was named first?
Yes, the 10 people.
The 10 county.
Initially, it was Cleveland Bradley, and then there was a consolidation.
That's why some people today still call it Cleveland Bradley.
Yes, they do.
But you add the community service.
Yes.
Because it was Cleveland Bradley, then it was service for the
Progress for People.
And
then it's back to Bradley Cleveland Community Service.
Bradley Cleveland Community Service, yes. And at that time, the war on poverty was started, and then there was significant dollars. Do you remember William Cox?
No.
He used to be one of the service persons there. And we would go out and deliver coal, put it in his truck, take coal to different people who were in need. So it's been significant in our neighborhood.
What happened before that? How did they get coal before? I mean, prior to the war on poverty, what did people do?
To the war on poverty, people struggled and they hustled. And a lot of them waited till the coal train passed. And they would throw coal off of the train, and they would get coal.
Come and gather it.
Yes.
Why did they throw it off?
They're going to take it, come back and get it, take it home and burn it. You know, we had a truck come through here, then it wasn't covered.
Oh, so they would jump on the train,
Yes.
hop the train,
Yes.
get up, throw it off,
Yes.
come back and pick it up.
That is correct.
What year was
Down.
what year was that? What era was that?
That was around the late 60s.
Well, that's not been long ago.
That hasn't been too long ago. See, the war on poverty is 1964.
So in the 50s, when they say we're just surviving, they really meant it.
In the 50s, you're talking about me now.
Well, I'm talking about
Because
just
I was going to College Hills.
Well, I mean, what did they do when they didn't have y'all? Because I know that y'all do a lot of work. What did these people do?
My grandmother lived on Short Street, right across the street from St. James, next door to St. James. And she had a little wagon. And she would send me and my cousin up to Stivers. Do you remember Stivers Town? Stivers Coal Company. Well, there was a Stivers. It's right now.
Is that next to Vest Grocery?
It's
down the
right
hill?
now where Lee College has its service.
Okay.
Lee Stivers
So they
Coal Company was there. We go down there and take his little wagon. I'm pulling the wagon. I'm the driver. And we would load this little wagon up. She had a fireplace.
Full of coal.
We would load it up full of coal and take it back.
So you burn coal instead of wood.
We mostly burn coal.
See, I'm ignorant.
They burn a combination because wood is not going to last long. But when you get coal and get the ashes from coal, it'll stay there for a good little while.
How twice as long as wood, or three times?
Oh yes, I'd say 3 times because you know those red coals.
If it wasn't for coal, a lot of people would have froze to death, I guess, right?
Yes, they would have. It would have been tragic. And I wouldn't say that some people didn't freeze, but see, many of them are right up the hill from where we are was the city dump. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, Hill Street.
Hill Street, yes. And right across the street in that barn was our coal storage place for William Collins.
Is that the
We'd go and
the pound now?
yes, dog pound.
Dog pound.
It was almost right sitting on the dog pound. Is almost sitting on that place.
That's where they stored the coal.
That's where we stored the coal.
But what did the dump have to do with it?
Nothing. Just poor people came to the dump, and they would glean the dump yard for food and different things. And we saw what we did as a means of getting those people out of some of those conditions like that. Yes, it was.
So even though today it's not that bad, or is it?
Depends on who you ask.
Give me a real tragic story.
Um,
Or not a person, but for example, today, they don't have a job, they don't have any money.
Yeah, so, I guess probably the most tragic stories we're hearing right now are individuals who don't have a job and don't have transportation, lack access to resources, because it wasn't that long ago that a lot of businesses were closed, a lot of social service organizations' doors were closed, and so there hasn't been that opportunity to transition to become employed, and then to obtain housing or what have you. A lot of the individuals that we're dealing with right now that are in crisis are those who are homeless. And because of COVID, we have limited our capacity in congregate shelter, meaning within our facility at the homeless shelter. So we help all that we can in hotels and motels.
So you actually pay to have them stay at a hotel?
We do.
And where do you get that? What is there an agency or that gives you the money and you spread it out best you can, or?
So we are grateful for funding called a grant called Emergency Solutions Grant. It comes by way of Tennessee Housing Development Agency out of Nashville. That grant was awarded to the homeless shelter back in July, and so we used those dollars to not only run the homeless shelter, but then also provide motel vouchers and meet other needs for homeless clients.
How do y'all do that? There's only 10 people at your place, right?
So there's about 10 at the main office, and then we've got a staff of 12 at the homeless shelter.
That's where the Donna
Dwight used to be.
Used to be, yes,
yeah.
on Wildwood.
Yeah.
And then we've got 6 staff members at the Senior Activity Center on Urbane Road.
But the senior center is not really a people in need, or is it?
Yes, because seniors need socialization. When you think of, especially, I mean, our seniors are dying to get back into the senior center. They're anticipating when we can open our doors and go full throttle. But and one of the reasons why that is the case is because in the middle of this pandemic, all of us are stressed and ready to resume a normal way of life as we used to know it. And so socialization at the senior center, they know, and how we know, would give them a sense of normalcy, allows people to develop relationships and build relationships with one another so that they're not alone or lonely. So it is a need. It's not the same type of need as one who is needing a warm bed on a cold night, who may be homeless. It's not the same, as one who, doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, but it is absolutely a need.
So some of these services or grants or funds, I'm guessing they say, oh, we need to have this program. We'll have departments manage it, and that's where y'all come in managing these specific programs. Does that sound? Am I saying it right? Because I don't know how y'all do all you do. I really don't.
The city of Cleveland and Bradley County saw the great need, so they brought us together and chartered by Bradley County, to do these kind of services for them, for the city.
Was Eddie Cartwright involved in that?
Yes, early. He wasn't involved there very long, but he was on at the early.
I think and Kenneth Tinsley.
Yes,
started the. See, when I worked for my uncle, we went and the home builders renovated that building where the emergency shelter was,
absolutely.
and I painted the halls myself.
You did.
So how many can stay there?
At the homeless shelter?
Yeah.
Well, we have 50 beds, but due to COVID and the need for social distancing, we've reduced our capacity to 18.
Do you have to, or do you have to do that, or is it you just think it's a good idea, or is it demanded by somebody?
So it wasn't demanded. Now there was some directives given. We've went through a few different executive orders where it asked, no more than a party of 10 here or a party of this number there. But we never reduced down to 10 at the homeless shelter. But we see it as being smart because, facilities like homeless shelters, it's easy for individuals to catch the flu, and once one person catches it, it takes off.
Then you'd be helping nobody.
Right.
Yes.
And so the same with Corona. We've tried to treat it the exact same way, and we're thankful that our clients have been sensitive to the virus and the need to not only distance themselves, but also practice good habits. Our clients clean on the hour, every hour. We've been running 24 hours. We started doing that in March. Took a break during the summer for a short period, and then started back once we got the ESG grant. And so, around 18. The most we've had during the pandemic is 21 in shelter, but then also been housing people in hotels.
So you're sort of housing up to 50 now, I guess, but just different places.
Different places, yes.
And so the ESG gives you money to
Gives
pay
us the
this
flexibility.
various places.
Absolutely.
And then behind the emergency shelter is the
annex.
Didn't we do that or help do that?
You did.
I think we did.
You did.
Just and
You helped us renovate it.
Yeah,
Yes.
renovate it. And some churches bring. I know Charlie McDowell's church.
Yeah.
They take like. What is
So,
that?
so the building was originally, before we had access to it, a storage building for Cleveland Housing Authority.
Yeah.
And we obtained access to it and initially used it as storage ourselves. But then we had the idea to flip the building into a multi-purpose facility, so that we could not only feed our clients there, but then also do group trainings there. And so that's when we partnered with you, and your team came in and helped us to, get the building ready for client service. And it has been a game changer for our program.
And if I remember, we had some not inmates, but people out of jail helped us too.
So
is that another department y'all are in charge of?
So we have, it's one of our programs for
Yeah.
Bradley Cleveland Community Services. We have a program called Second Chance.
Yeah, Second Chance.
And we work with ex-offenders. And so, yes, our Second Chance participants helped us.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a big help.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They could do drywall. They could do whatever.
Yeah, but I think you were asking about churches. So yes, churches come in every day at the shelter.
Every evening?
Every evening. And
who schedules that? Like this church this week, this church that week?
We have a few good people at the shelter that work on that together. We have not only our shelter coordinator works on it, but then a couple of part-time staff assist him with that, and consider that a part of our outreach, reaching out to members of the faith community to try to get them involved.
So who funds the emergency shelter?
So as of today, we are funded not only by THDA with the Emergency Solutions Grant.
Which was new.
Well, it's not new. We have, historically been recipients of Emergency Solutions Grant. We did not receive it in 2019, but we were able to get it back in this year, 2020. We're optimistic that will continue with a strong partnership with THDA. So we have the Emergency Solutions Grant, and then the United Way of Ocoee Region also provides some funding for the shelter as well. And then we leverage dollars from Bradley Cleveland Community Services Agency. BCCSA receives the Community Services Block Grant. And so we're able to leverage dollars from CSBG to fill gaps so that services are not missed.
Boy, that's over my head. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how you keep up with all that. That's worse than running a construction business.
It is. It's significant.
Was it always this multi-leveled? Or has this been evolved? Or has Demetrius brought this?
Demetrius has brought this to a new level.
Now, how did he come into play? Demetrius, you've been in Cleveland your whole life?
In Bradley County my whole life.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
Between Cleveland and Charleston. So
that would have been Where?
So I spent
Between Cleveland and Charleston.
yeah.
that'd
So
be-
meaning I lived in Charleston,
Yeah.
and then my family moved to
I
Cleveland,
see.
and then
Did you go to
in
Charleston High?
So I went to Cleveland High School and then transferred to Charleston High my junior year to live with my grandmother in Charleston. So that's why I say between the two. I've spent a good amount of years in both, and yeah.
But y'all have the same last name.
I'm Johnson.
Oh, no, Ramsey. Demetrius Ramsey.
And he's Ramsey.
Dr. Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I thought y'all were
we don't
related. I
run
really
from
do.
the last names. We love each other
Yeah.
very much. So,
Now,
but
is there Ramses in was Ramses in Charleston?
Ramseys are here in Cleveland.
But your grandmother lived in Charleston.
Yes, and so that she was a Bayless before she became a
Bayless.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a Bayless Road?
I don't know.
The Baylesses live on the east side of Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've done some renovations for them also
Okay.
through. I think we've done some. So after high school, how did you evolve into working with Dr. Johnson?
Oh mercy. Do you have a couple of hours?
We got plenty of time.
You know what?
Want some more tea?
no.
Okay.
I through the years was able to develop a love for community service and community action. I've always wanted to be a community activist or a community organizer, and so at the time, Dr. Johnson was my pastor, and
In Charleston.
Yes.
in Charleston, yes.
Yeah.
So my church, yes. So
Yeah.
he is pastor of Greens Chapel, Cumberland
Yeah.
Presbyterian Church in
Yeah, I
Charleston.
watched him on YouTube.
And
Okay.
you know what? How this happened? One day I was in church preaching, and I was looking, discerning from the Lord for a person who could fulfill the position as manager of Bradley Cleveland Community Services. And I looked off of my text, and I saw him walking down the side of the church, and I knew he was.
How old was he then?
Oh, it wasn't that long ago. So about 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
Yeah, so I would have. Oh, you're making me tell my age, Dee.
Well, we can sort of discern.
so I would have been 32.
32.
Yes, around that.
So after you graduated from Charleston High, what happened?
After I graduated from Charleston High, I went to UTC, and while Dr. Johnson wanted to be an opera star or
Yeah.
opera singer, I actually had a private dream of being a Broadway singer. Nobody
Sure enough.
didn't really.
Sure enough.
Yeah, I really did, and didn't really.
Now,
you
what's
know,
the difference
you
between a
should've
Broadway singer and
You
a...
should have heard it. You should have had him to sing for you.
Who's that? I should have. But if he played the certain songs, then you have to have copyrights or something like that.
You do.
Oh, really?
But now, what would be the difference between a Broadway singer?
Broadway is usually mostly popular type music.
Was you wanting to be in a play?
I wanted.
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to be. I felt like I was born to sing and act, to entertain, and but while at UTC was studying to be a spin doctor. My area of focus was public relations and communication. And so, but I never, unlike Dr. Johnson, I did not actively pursue that, probably because of fear, maybe. And so and I was working in Chattanooga at the time at Cigna Healthcare when I had the opportunity to join him at Bradley.
What were you
Cleveland.
doing there at Cigna?
I was an employer services consultant, so dealing with some national accounts, turning crises with national accounts, turning them around, making them happy customers
Yeah.
to keep them
Yeah.
so that we could retain that business. So I would do it, all kinds of things from ensuring that their employee eligibility was accurate, that they had no issues with billing, just really putting out fires to keep our accounts happy with Cigna Healthcare.
So really, you were learning to do this job you're doing.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So when he mentioned it to you, did you think, I don't know if I want to do that or not? Or
No. I knew I wanted to do it immediately. Because in addition to working in Chattanooga, I was also involved in a number of organizations, from the NAACP to Bradley Initiative for Church and Community, working with some with Brenda Hughes. I was, working with organizations, and through those interactions, I knew that I had a heart for the community and wanted to be a public servant. And so when he talked to me about it, I jumped at the chance to do it.
Refresh me. What did I say to you when I talked to you about it?
Oh,
I don't recall. I knew that you were the man.
you might have said help.
I could have said that. Oh,
yeah. You was very clear in that while you were reading the scripture and thinking about that he saw me walking by, and he said, "I think you are the person to succeed." Me, and I was actually at my mother's house. My mother lives out by Cleveland State, still does, and so I was walking in her backyard. I was on the phone with him, and he said that, and I about dropped in the about passed
Did you
out.
enjoy your job at Cigna, or was you thinking, I'm needing something different?
I did enjoy my job at Cigna, but I was definitely interested in looking for something different. Yeah.
he's always been a community organizer, haven't you? And that has been.
Well, I think he's been passionate for helping people.
Yes, absolutely.
More so than an organizer.
Yes.
I think an organizer is what he has to do to help people.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
it does, and I agree with
I
you.
mean, not the
Yeah.
vice
And the
versa.
same with him.
Yeah.
The same. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that connected us so easily, is our desire to want to help individuals and to see them win, to see them overcome, and to be instrumental through that process.
Do you think that all this helping, it actually leads people to doing better? Or you don't want to be an enabler,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, somebody's got to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're not going to become president,
Mm-hmm.
we still have to help them, don't we?
Mm-hmm. So and I think that's probably something that not only we're challenged with, but that we struggle with, is because you will, in all the whether if you look at your successes and the missed opportunities, I won't call them failures, I'll say missed opportunities. You come across individuals who probably want to take advantage of a situation and aren't trying to come out of a situation, but we can't focus on those individuals.
Well, don't we all do that when we fill out our income tax? We try to take advantage on the income. You know what I'm saying?
We try to make the best play on that income tax. We don't take advantage of them because you can't take advantage of them. They're going to take advantage of you.
That's right. But I mean, so in other words, everybody tries to take advantage where they can.
Okay.
But I guess at any point in my life, I could have gone left instead of right.
Right.
500 times.
And
it completely changed the whole trajectory of where I'm at.
Yes.
same for me.
And I wouldn't be any more different of a person I am today as then.
Yeah.
It's just I went left
Yeah.
2 steps instead of 1.
Yes, there's a quote that said, "We are all one decision away from a completely different life." And
Boy.
there's so many decisions that I've made that probably each of us have made.
What if you hadn't answered the phone?
Well, no, Well, he's persistent. He would have called again, or he would have left.
But he might have forgot the phone number.
Yeah, that may be true. But 30 years ago, I could remember a little better.
But am I right? You could have been, anything could have changed.
Absolutely.
So we almost have to give this credit to a higher power than
absolutely.
circumstances.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We are both committed at our church. In fact, he's assistant pastor.
Now, I've been to your church. You got the in the basement. You got the ceilings that are just one hair short, just one hair too low. And what's the name of that church?
Greens Chapel, Cumberland Presbyterian Church.
Now, define Presbyterian.
John Calvin.
The Restoration Movement?
Yes.
Is that what it was?
Was doing that
Now,
period.
how did I know that?
Well, you studied a little history, and he,
Y'all
Martin,
aren't Baptist, right?
you know Martin Luther.
Martin Luther.
Yes.
We started the Lutheran Church, right?
Lutheran Church. Yes. No, we're not Baptists, but we have some relationships, don't we?
Because we're a believer of Jesus Christ.
Yes,
We're all in the same. We're all believing the same, aren't we?
pretty much.
I mean,
well, some of us all believe the same, but not all of us.
but we all believe in God.
That's correct.
It's
in
just
Jesus is our personal
somebody may
Savior.
have interpreted. I'm Church of Christ. I interpret it slightly different, I guess, and than y'all. But it's really the same. We're all after the same goal.
We're all after the same goal. My sister was Church of Christ and her husband.
Where did they go?
Schrader Lane in Nashville. You familiar with
No.
Schrader? It's a very nice church.
So how did you become a preacher after singing opera?
Well, that's a long story, which I won't go into.
Well, give us the Reader's Digest.
Which I
You want some more tea?
I rebelled, and I was told to preach
Now,
by a higher power.
so you took a left instead of a right at one point?
Evidently, and I said, no, I'm not going to do this. Adamantly. And what happened?
Were you going to church prior to that?
I grew up in the church. I played piano at Pleasant Grove Baptist. As a little boy.
So how'd you end up Presbyterian?
They tricked me.
That was good.
I have a feeling you're not tricked very easily.
Well, no. But I did figure out some things once you study church history. You understand that, what I decided is that I'm a Baptist. I can baptize them just like.
Yeah.
And I had to baptize him to try to get him straightened out. But,
Sprinkle or baptize?
At Greens Chapel, we do all of them.
All of them. Just in case, right? Just in case.
Just in case we miss something.
Yeah. Were you always going to his church? Your grandmother?
I have always been a member of Greens Chapel, yes.
So you were there before he
I
was.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you become the preacher? You hadn't had any preaching experience, right?
Yes, he had.
Or pastoring.
So he was, before pastoring my church, he was pastor of one of our sister church in Athens.
That's correct. 10 years.
Freedman Chapel.
Oh.
So yes.
Yes.
So do you preach every Sunday? Or are you the
Well,
assistant? How's that work?
He's laughing at that because when you mature, you bring other folk that you want to train.
Yeah.
So he thinks I'm bringing a lot of folk in.
How much do you owe this guy for just keeping you the right direction?
Oh my gosh. I know him. I owe him. I owe him and Jesus and a few other people.
A
lot of other people.
A lot of
Yeah,
Sunday school teachers.
I owe Dr. Johnson. I owe my mother.
Yes.
I owe my former pastor, Steve Cottle, who's now pastoring in Chattanooga.
Yes.
I owe Reverend James Paris, who is,
Yes.
from Charleston as well, pastoring in Etowah at Star Bethel. My grandmother, Edna White. So if it were not for all these people, I would not. Lawrence Armstrong, I could go on and on.
It's a little bit of everybody molds us, don't they?
But I had to come along and get him straightened out.
So you say you're the pastor and he's the pastor? See, at our church,
He
we're
was
preachers.
joking. I'm not the pastor.
So
He's an elder. At our
an elder. You ever preached?
I have spoken before.
excellent spokesperson.
Now we had Perry Stone on here about 2 weeks ago,
I saw that.
and that was he's a preacher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's a preacher. So when you preach, do you preach once a week?
Listen, let me tell you, I preach every day.
But
Because, like today, I've already been preaching as to what I want to talk about next Sunday.
Were you at the pulpit today?
I was at it, but I didn't preach.
Because I've seen you. I've got you on YouTube preaching.
You have?
Yeah. I've watched it. I've watched you. You're a good preacher.
Well, I'm not a Church of Christ.
Not Church of Christ, but I mean, you're still after the same thing.
Yes, we're after the same thing.
We name it. I don't think God names us.
No.
I think
You're right.
we name
You're
ourselves.
absolutely correct.
You could just say that church over there, but we have to give them a label for some reason. I don't know.
But I can recount when one night laying in my bed and I heard something that says preach. And I said, I don't think so.
Had you not preached before? No desire.
Well, I had been in the church all my life.
But I mean, as far as getting up in front of everybody and
Not like he has. I had not. I played the piano, directed the choir, and that was the biggest extent of it.
how many members y'all have there?
At Grand Shower.
Yeah.
What do you say?
So we have on the roll about 110.
Pretty good size then. I mean, it's not a small
Nice
church.
size.
Small church would be what? 40?
50, 40,
50.
50. But we have a church that is committed. It's committed to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we have members there who are committed. None like him, though. This is not going to be aired over there, is it?
Well,
Seriously. But I guess you can tell that I depend on him.
yeah, but you didn't always depend on him. For a while, you was doing your own thing.
I've never done my own thing.
But you have gotten hit. He's helped you at your job, and then it's just kind of evolved into being more of a position at the church, right? Is that how you'd say it?
I'm a codependent.
But now back to Bradley Cleveland Services. Community services. I still can't get in my head all the areas that y'all are in. It seems like you'd have the label up here, Bradley Cleveland Community Services. Under it, you'd say Senior Center, Emergency Shelter, Commodity Thursdays, every other Thursday, Fridays,
Home delivered meals. Meals
at the emergency shelter.
Daily.
And what's the second chance?
We've got LAHEAP, which is it's really our largest program.
Yeah.
It's a utility assistance program.
Utility assistance. And is there another one?
So we have up under the housing, we have rental housing, 46 rental units, and then
Do y'all own them?
we own those rental units. And then we're also now offering home ownership. So we're leading low-income families to home ownership. We've currently got 2 homes under construction on Short Street, and hope to build 6 more fairly quickly.
Does that cover all of them, all the areas?
No, I'm sure we have
Did we
in
say-
the summer. In the summer, we have a summer food service program where we feed kids, youth 18 and under, not only in Bradley County but in Polk County as well.
Where do you do that at?
All over, within churches.
Now, didn't they have one at the airport here a while back? I went up there for something, and they were feeding. It was summer lunch program.
Okay, it may have been a lunch program with another organization.
May have been, yeah.
Yeah, but it was
Yeah,
not
yeah.
our organization. We haven't fed at the
Yeah.
airport. We feed at churches, parks, community organizations, camps.
Is that
Boys
all?
and Girls
Is that all
Club.
set up as a regular schedule during the summer?
So we have an initial meeting prior to summer, and give all the different sites opportunities to plan out their summer, and then tell us what time they want to feed, and then we put that into the calendar, and then publish the calendar to let people know.
So who brings the food?
So we have a kitchen at this year. Our kitchen was at Blythe Bower School. So we hired seasonal summer workers. They prepare the meals and then pack the meals into coolers. And then we have a different team that comes in, picks up the coolers, and then delivers the meals to all the respective sites.
I honestly don't know how you keep up with that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it can be stressful at times, challenging at times, but it's rewarding. And so I think, when you see that needs are being met, that gives you the energy to,
to keep going.
and
the next day.
yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, so summer food service is one that we didn't name.
We didn't name the summer.
That's like 10 different areas.
Pretty much.
How would you, when you go in of a morning, how do you know which area? Like even the commodities every 2 weeks. Now I noticed you can go in there on
Commodities is actually every other month.
every other month.
Commodities is every other month. Home delivered meals is every week. Home delivered meals used to be, prior to COVID-19, home delivered meals was every day. We had a
Is
team.
that Meals
delivering-
on Wheels?
That's Meals on Wheels, delivering hot meals every single day. But since
Now who makes those?
so we were grateful for a partnership with the Area Agency on Aging and Disability in Chattanooga through Southeast Tennessee Development District. They have a contract with a vendor, and I believe it's still Bateman. They prepare the meals and then bring them to Cleveland. But since we are in this pandemic, we are now just delivering shelf staple meals. So it may be some soups and different things that can be eaten at different times of the day, once per week. But once we go, we take enough for that whole week to last them until Friday.
And so who pays for that service?
Who pays for it? So we're grateful that the Area Agency on Aging and Disability pays for a portion. United Way, Ocoee Region pays for a portion. And then we leverage dollars from that grant that I spoke of earlier, Community Services Block Grant. As well as donations that come, whether it's from a recipient or from the public, general public. People may just give, so it comes from.
So when you go in of a morning, do you have like a calendar that pops up says, okay, today you need to get ready for the summer school lunch program that's going to start in June? And do you say, okay, I got to start getting that ready, or do you have somebody that, I mean, do you run it do you run it like you would a corporation, or what's your mindset? Because
So we do have calendars. We do have a calendar, but we're blessed that A lot of us there have been there for years. We do have some new blood, and so it's almost like putting on your clothes every morning. Now you've gotten into a rhythm, but
So you have a mental calendar, basically.
We do.
You know, it's time to
get ready for summer food. It's time to, and we've had a little more time to think about new programs here lately, just because the senior center has been closed since the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so when you have to close down or pull back on some programs, that gives you just a little bit more time to think about some others, or perhaps.
But then when this is over, then you have that new program and the old program, and it all just cave in.
Well, I think.
What do you mean cave in?
I mean mental.
We can't let it cave in. We have program coordinators. Who knows?
But you say that, but y'all,
with-
you got 10 people over there.
Well, 10 functioning people.
And 10 professionals.
Yes, and 10 pros. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all run that. I really don't. With all this stuff you're talking, this stuff you're talking about is timely stuff. Lunches. I mean, I even know at the senior center, we did something for you over there, build a stage of some sort or something, and they have.
We've done a lot of work with.
We've done a lot of work, yeah. And but it seems like they would play bingo. Not
They
bingo.
do, yeah.
No, there's something that
Bingo.
bridge. They have what is that, like once a week?
So bridge would occur 2 to 3 times per week.
Yeah.
Bingo would occur once or twice a week, depending on the demand. I mean, sometimes, seniors will ask for a certain activity to occur, become reoccurring during the week, and so the calendar would be changed. But that's the activities that you speak of are exactly why the seniors are anxious to get back into the senior center, because they're missing, line dancing and oil painting and gospel singing and
The Christmas party.
Christmas party, which
What are you going to do about that?
well, the annual Senior Citizens Christmas Party, which is normally held at Bradley Central High School in December, attracts up to 600 persons. There's no way we could bring 600 senior citizens into under the same roof and feel good about it.
No way.
And so, in this pandemic, and so we're just not able to have it this year. But we anticipate it being bigger and better next year. That is the goal. That's the hope.
Now, when I drive by there's a little bit of a line out in front of your place,
Okay.
and that's, I guess, because of the pandemic.
Okay. You talking about our in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess, but those, so you've got people coming in all the time.
Yes. So our office, our lobby is, our building is closed. We're not allowing traffic to move or navigate through the building like we used to.
So
because
what
of the
traffic
pandemic.
would you have?
So people do come into our lobby. They come into our lobby and share, personal information from, to allow us to copy their, birth certificates or pay stubs.
For housing.
For housing or for utility assistance, for a number of programs. It may be someone who is, needing rent assistance, which is a pretty big program for ours, or maybe needing, assistance with a utility deposit. We allow them to come into the lobby so that we can obtain that personal information, make copies, and then we'll ask them to go back to their cars, and then while we process it, and then. But I think the lines that you speak of in the parking lot are because since March we've been holding commodities in a drive-through format. Clients used to come into our building, sign for the surplus foods, and then one of our workers would carry the groceries out to their car. Now we just, they just drive through the parking lot, and we put the meals or the food into their trunk or the back seat of their car, and so they never have to leave their vehicle. So the arrows or the lines in the parking lot is just to provide some guidance as to which way they are to move.
So the commodities is every other Thursday, right?
Commodities is every other month.
Every other month.
Yep.
So
And home delivered meals is every Friday. Yep. Food.
now I used to rent to a guy
Okay.
that would, and I'd have to go get his rent check from him.
Okay.
And he was a real hateful guy. That was just his nature.
Okay. Well,
But it seems like I was always there about the time the Meals on Wheels would come up.
Okay.
And so they were very, very nice to him, and he looked forward to that
Yes.
delivery.
Absolutely.
And I thought, and I just remember thinking at the time, how in the world could you coordinate this?
You know what? This is how, and Dr. Johnson mentioned earlier, having that we have coordinators over each program, and when you think of a program like Home Delivered Meals, which is really transformed because of the pandemic, our drivers didn't just take a meal every day as you talked about, but they were carrying out garbage if necessary. Really checking on the status of that homeowner or that client to make sure that he or she was okay.
Yeah.
And then if they determined that he or she was not okay, they would take the appropriate action to get help to that house. Well, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, now we're only going once a week. But the person who is a coordinator over that program, Faye Golston, through the week, she's making calls. She's making what we call telephone reassurance calls to check in on them through the week to make sure that they're okay. So it works because we've got a dedicated professional who is coordinating that program. Who is it's her job every day to be thinking about those clients and making sure that they're okay.
And busy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And committed to the job, the test that they do, and very much.
Now, when you
Have
say
the same-
committed, explain that. Because I think I know what you're saying.
When I say committed, I'm saying that I'm determined to make sure that this particular senior gets the meal that I'm supposed to make sure she gets today. And without rain or the snow, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's going to go there.
Yeah, inclement weather.
Yes.
Inclement weather does not
Yes.
mean that we don't deliver a meal, because
Or now 5 meals.
5 meals. Yeah, we've got dedicated coordinators who, our hours are 8 to 4:30. But if a senior or someone needs a meal, 5 o'clock, 6
Yeah,
o'clock.
say they weren't there that day. They had to
Yeah.
go to the doctor.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's our job to
I
get
mean, they're
that-
not going to say, well, I can't be here. I can't go to the doctor because I've got Meals on Wheels that's coming at 11:30 to 1.
Right.
Or
Right.
1:30.
Right. So and just to give you an example, on Friday, we had 6 individuals who just happened not to be home when the meals were delivered. And so the coordinator of the program, Faye Golston, had she just kept pounding the pavement to make sure, and I think it was as late as 7:30 that some of them got their meals on Friday, but she was determined to get them their meals.
So she's one of those that by hook or crook she's going to get it done.
She's going to get it done.
That's correct.
She's gonna
and
get it
most
done.
of our people
Are that way.
are that way.
Yes.
Hook or crook. We're gonna get a job done.
Because,
Because
not just because of the paycheck, because they have a passion for this.
yes, and because this person, if I don't take this meal to them, won't have a meal. So they're passionate because of the service that they give to that person.
What comes to my mind is you obviously, your forte is hiring the right people. Think about it. You got all this stuff I've laid out here, and you've got, talk about coordinators and people that's going to get it done by hook or crook. And I don't have 5 people that could do that for me. So are you able to hire these? How do you know these people are going to be this way?
I pass that responsibility on to him, so it's up to him. And we don't everybody doesn't work out.
That's the truth.
Yes,
That's the truth.
But
So you're saying you don't always hire the right person?
Don't always, no.
no.
I wish that was the case.
Yes.
But the coordinator of home delivered meals though came to us first as a volunteer.
Yes.
She believed in the organization and wanted to give back, and came every day just wanting to help answer phones or file. Or, so
I'm seeing it now.
Yeah.
So you're actually hiring people that have a passion for it without the pay.
Yes. And just recently, we hired a Hispanic person to connect more. You may want to talk
Translation.
about to make more.
Yeah, how do you do it? How do you deal with that? That's a whole nother thing.
You hire a person who speaks Spanish.
Because some of us speak a limited amount of Spanish, but not to the extent that we need to be effective in outreach. And so, we're grateful that will soon change with the addition of a Spanish-speaking.
So you've hired a translator?
Someone who will not only be able to translate, but
who actually is a Spanish-speaking person.
Will she have other jobs other than just translating, or she'll be one of these? What do you call them? You called them person in charge of a department. What do you call
a coordinator?
Coordinator, yeah.
Yeah. So, hopefully it will develop into coordinating a program. But I think for right now the goal is not only to get her to introduce our programs to clients who've not heard of us, but I guess just really get the word out. Get the word out to the Spanish-speaking community of Bradley County.
Now, I hate to keep jumping around because it's so massive, I can't get my arms around it. But sometimes when I've been in there, these commodities have shampoo in them and toothpaste. And is that the same thing? Or is that another program?
I think you're thinking of, you've probably seen some of our boxes for either senior Christmas or shelter. Sometimes we have we don't include shampoo or toothpaste, those types of things in the commodities distributions unless we've received a good deal of those products and we're just running over with them, and some of our clients in that program have asked and expressed a need for it. Normally those types of things we package for individuals who just pass by and maybe ask for hygiene products or things, because that is a need as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Boy. And then you go over to the Second Chance program.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work out for you?
So we started that program about 7 or 8 years ago, and it has. Were you gonna say something?
No, you go.
It has worked well, as you articulated earlier, because we're able to not only provide ex-offenders with hands-on experience and training, but then also give them an opportunity to be walk through a class with Dr. Johnson. And then to talk about issues that led to that criminal path, or a life of drugs or whatever it could be. He gives the individuals an opportunity to deal and have real honest conversation about those issues. So not only is that, while that's going on, we're also getting work done, but the work is limited to 20 hours per week, and then the other time is in class.
Yeah, you give them a class?
We have what is the name?
Jobs for Life class.
Jobs for Life is the name of the program. I think one of the churches in town did Jobs for Life. It's a national program for offenders. What we did notice is that many of the persons who have been incarcerated come back into the community and we just see them standing on the corner. So what we try to do is pick them up and give them some guidance, some direction, so that they won't end up back in the same place.
I'm not sure if it's that they want to. It'd be hard to get a job if you said,
easy.
where have you been the last 3 years? Well, I've been in jail.
That's true.
So what'd you do?
Right.
Nothing.
Yes.
I was innocent or whatever, It'd be hard to, so that is a problem.
It's a problem. That's why we started that program.
Do you have to give them a class once a week?
We're giving them a class. What do we do it?
Two.
Once a week?
No, two times
classes.
per week.
Yeah.
2 times of the evening?
Yes.
Well, it really depends. It depends on, because, in some groups, with some employee classes, it's been evening, but normally it's afternoon. Work is done from 8 to 12, have lunch, take a break, and then come back and then do the class 1:30 to 3:30, or it's normally how it works.
Boy.
But if you have a single mother who we're working with, and she's got to get to her kids, then we're a little bit more flexible. So it's really not locked into a particular time.
Well, I don't know how y'all keep up with everything.
Well, we do pray a lot, and that helps a lot too. But we're committed to what we do.
But even being committed, you'd still have to have a certain level of intelligence to do all this stuff. I mean, I can be committed to surfing, and I'm never going to be able to surf.
You're right, but
I think, and I agree with you. But I think you got to have some good sense, but you also got to have the heart for it.
Yes.
It's got to be motivated by something bigger than yourself. Because it's not always easy. We do sometimes serve people who don't want to be served, and who don't want to be served by me, or don't want to be served by us. And so, it's why you take it back to the higher power, to God.
You'd have to, because otherwise I don't know how it'd work.
But after talking to him, you see why I chose him, don't you?
I see why you chose him.
Yes.
He should be working for a Fortune 500 company.
Absolutely.
I mean,
He should be.
way, I
Making
guess you would
big
say
bucks.
over what do they call that when you're overqualified?
You're too kind.
But this is a passion for you.
It absolutely
Yes.
is a passion. If it was not a passion, I don't think I'd still be here, because I've been the director for 10 years now.
And how have you dealt with burnout?
Pray.
Yeah, burnout. You ever get burnout?
I have before. But I'm grateful to say that I'm not dealing with it now.
Right.
So how do you deal with it? Like Dr. Johnson said, how do you deal with it?
A lot of prayer. And
We're committed to the gospel of Jesus Christ.
and
We're
you know,
committed, yes.
I think also because I still, even at the director level, I have a great deal of interaction with people with our clients, whether they are at the homeless shelter or senior center, or I am very much in touch with, those who we are serving. And so through those interactions, I'm able to get some inspiration to come out
From behind the desk and get with the people. So we're with people in crisis. We don't stay behind the desk. We're involved in their lives. And we are moved. Are you moved by what you hear from them?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think that, you've spoken throughout this conversation about our relationship, how, you coming into the office.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the, unique things about us working with you is that, you haven't been just a contractor that's just wanting to get the job.
No.
And to collect the check and move on.
Yeah.
I mean, you really
Yeah.
know us.
Yeah.
You know what we do.
I've eaten lunch with y'all down there in the building.
Yes.
Get coffee sometimes.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you can't, if you're working for Bradley Cleveland Community Services, you're breaking even and a little bit. But if you're doing it for large profit, you got to want to do it.
Yes.
And so that's what I did when I did those in the senior center. And
Yes.
I just don't know how y'all keep up with it. You're just way smarter than I could ever be. Now, how do you go home at night when you've heard 5 bad stories and order a pizza? You know what I'm saying?
I do understand. Yeah. Well, it's rare that we sleep straight through the night, right? It's just we share stories.
Well, there'd be a certain level of depression, not depression, but I mean, when you've talked to 10 people that are just needing the electric bill, out of prison but can't get a job, the grandmother's taking her lunch and all this stuff, how do you go home and say, all right, let's be happy?
Well, here's the deal. We are rarely do we have missed opportunities where a client has come in and we just couldn't help them, and then we're going home worried about not being able to help them, because when we don't have the funding to help, we are able to pick up the phone. I've got the director of Caring Place on speed dial. Corinne Freeman and I are constantly in communication. Or we may have conversations with Salvation Army, or just another.
Ruthie Forgy, she does a real good job.
Absolutely. Or we've got an absolutely great partnership with First Baptist. May pick up the phone and have conversations with staff there and be able to meet the needs. So that lessens the degree to which we may go home and be overwhelmed. Because we have to take it one day at a time.
In other words, you're on the offense in helping people, and not really. In other words, you fixed a system to where you can always. I mean, having these people on speed dial was not an accident, or you've obviously had to create that relationship.
Absolutely.
And anyone that comes to our office hungry, we're not going to let them leave hungry. Somebody on our staff is going to be fixing something.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, I've said it before, and I wanted to get this exposed, that Bradley Cleveland Community Services does more for this community than anything I know of. Maybe the fire department is more, I don't know. And I don't know how you do it, but it's a phenomenon.
Well, we thank you. We thank you for your partnership with us.
Demetrius, you should run for public office. I would vote for you no matter what you ran for.
He does need
Well,
to.
I'm going to hold you to that.
But you need to let him retire.
Let me retire and go home and keep
They're going to have to knock you in the head on Judgment Day to get him to transform.
I think when that time comes, I'll be reconciled to it.
You think so?
What do you think?
I think it's just in him. He's just community action is a part of his genetic fiber.
Another thing about your office, it's clean. In all of this, how do you? Even the bathrooms are clean.
Well, we work.
I mean, how's?
And I think if you went to the homeless shelter, people that go there are surprised that it is as clean as it is, because we work at it all day. And as they do there, our clients clean on the hour, every hour at the homeless shelter to combat germs. And
Well, I tell you what, this has really been a good an eye opener for me. I thought it was phenomenal, but it's so phenomenal now. My head's hurting.
you probably need a little bit more coffee.
Yeah, I've had enough. Well, listen, I appreciate y'all coming. Is there anything the community can do that you'd like to get out there It sounds like you don't need any help, but I'm sure you do.
We always need help because there are always people, this family, this person, who needs something that we need, or that Demetrius needs to run out and try to drum up some help for. Maybe a bed, maybe a mattress.
Yeah, so I mean, donations are always appreciated because you may have especially in a pandemic, have clients who can't produce a driver's license or a birth certificate, don't have access to print a pay stub or this, and if they can't meet the criteria for the funding that we have available, having donations from private donors enables us to tap into those unrestricted dollars to be able to meet those needs until that we can help them to obtain the driver's license and the Social Security card and all those types of things. So donations are always appreciated.
So in other words, some people that may not fall into the category of these funds that they can receive, then private donations can enable y'all to fill another gap
Absolutely.
for somebody that's on the cusp.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And private donations also helps us to serve clients whose income may exceed the guidelines for a utility assistance program or something. Families of all walks of life, from all backgrounds, experience crises from time to time. And so those donations would help us to serve them as well.
Y'all are even sharing offices where you're at. You've even got 2 people in some offices. I mean, not only are you doing, don't you have? Now I was in there. I saw your daughter in there with. Aren't y'all having some people sharing offices?
No, we now if. Before the pandemic, we had, if you saw 2 people in there, you may have like a part-time person to go into Melanie's office to be filing while she's working, or but no, we're fortunate to that everyone has their own space right now.
Could you make it without Dale?
Dale is a great asset to us, and we're grateful for her. Absolutely.
She does a great job.
She does a wonderful job.
She keeps up with everything. She's a good, what would you say her job is besides everything?
She's our office manager. And so she helps to keep a flow within the office.
She does that for sure.
Absolutely.
Dr. Johnson, all respect.
Thank you so much.
Demetrius.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're great.